My name is Kitley Woken and I'm a representative for Who's Tracking School based in Virginia. The Way of Tracking is the European leg of Who's Tracking School. Well, usually I give the fault to my dad because he literally forced me and my mom to watch a lot of massive number of Western movies. So I was already intrigued, fascinated by the figure of Native Americans, especially their ability to read the ground. So later on, around 2014, I started to develop the serious intention to attend some tracking classes to learn more. I was already purchasing some books and checking videos on YouTube, but really want to learn the art by professionals. So that's how this gets started, let's say. The first training happened in the Alps, and it was quite an harsh season because it was at the end of September until the end of November. It was quite hard, surely very interesting and challenging. And then later on in 2017, I joined a class, Tactical Acuity for ID class based in Virginia. So I kind of changed completely the scenario and I learned over there. And then later on, my personal training, it just improved because I had the possibility and the honor to train with different trackers, different instructors, to be trained in search and rescue, forensic tracking, and in anti-poaching as well, during my training to become a conservation ranger course. I'm more into forensic tracking, but since I'm also volunteer for search and rescue, I cannot say that I have one thing that I favor rather than the other one. Maybe just a little bit more prone to forensic. My favorite environment, without any shadow of doubt, is the Alps. Rugged, challenging, physically speaking, very much demanding, but for sure it's my environment of choice, let's say, and it taught me so much. I teach mostly in Europe. In quite all the countries I got the immense honor and privilege in teaching Mantracking skills from Scandinavia down to Spain, so having the possibility to change environment, change scenarios, and teaching in different seasons as well. So right now the classes of Who's Tracking School, they are, I would say, scattered all over Europe. And I also have the fortune to run some online courses because of the distance for Carabineros and Bomberos de Chile. So right now, unfortunately, there are just remote classes, but I hope that I will be on the field with them soon. The most general rules for tracking is, of course, do not step on the track line unless we are seeing the person that we want to follow and to find. The second one is always to keep the track between ourselves and a source of light, because we really don't want to cast any shadow on it. And then, of course, all the others, they are mostly related to the environment we are tracking in, and especially if we are working in a team. So, for example, keeping visual contact with our colleagues, with the people that are part of the tracking unit, for example. But in terms of one-on-one, I always keep things very easy. We just need to remember that there are three phases of tracking. We got the identification, we got the deciphering phase, and then we have the proper following. So the first two phases, they are definitely more static. The third one is the dynamic. So identify, decipher, and follow. That's why I personally choose this one as a motto for the way of tracking. Forensic, it's all about understanding everything which belongs to a crime scene. So analyzing every single little detail, analyzing every evidence, and going step by step. And instead, the search and rescue is more completely dynamic because our main goal is to find the missing subject as soon as we can. If for any circumstance I got lost in the unfamiliar area, in an area that I've never been before, I can resort to my backtracking skills. The first thing that we really want to have like engraved in our mind is the design of the soul. So the design of the soul is actually telling a lot about ourselves, and this is what we want to look for if we are lucky enough to have some track traps area. A track trap is an area in which the terrain is soft, rich on moisture, in an adequate manner for us to be able to see tracks, especially in case we got lost. We really need to understand that, first of all, it's all about maintaining control on ourselves as a person, and in second instance, it's all about understanding that this is the pattern that I really want to look for because it's belonging to my track line. Of course, it's not all about being able to see very complete and total and uncontaminated footprints. We really want to be able to understand if the vegetation has been disturbed, if the debris has been disturbed. So we want to be able to see tracks on leaf litter bed as well as on green vegetation. We look for ground spores as well, for area spores. So for spores and damages occur because of any upper part of our figure or our equipment or the head accidentally break into the vegetation, creating damages that we really want not to miss. So the other scenario in which I ever track is surely Scandinavia. I still have in my mind like it is yesterday when I had the chance to run a course in Norway, and I got absolutely no idea about the reaction of lichens and moss, and the moss is still friendly with tracker. It's a really good indicator, but lichens are not at all. So lichens are really resilient, and their ability to spring back is so immediate that we are talking about invisible tracks. In a matter of seconds, we don't have tracks anymore on those kind of terrains. So this goes straight into the, let's say, level most difficult, nasty terrain I ever track on. If I lose the trail, I can go with two different procedures. The first one is called the slice method. I can literally fragment the full area in front of me in different slices and try to relocate the next track in the first slice or in the second. It depends where I found any evidence. The second method, which is honestly the one that I prefer, is to work on the perimeter, so finding any evidence of the person or myself in case I backtrack myself and I lose my own track, looking for evidence of exiting the area. So that's why working on the perimeter, I do believe that it's much more efficient, especially when we are dealing in areas in which we have enough visibility. Well, something that I did with search and rescue that I'm particularly proud is when we were on a search of an elderly gentleman who was suffering from senile dementia. So we knew all the, let's say, characteristics and features of this person throughout the family. It was very, very accurate. But we employ a specific, let's say, method of research in prioritizing an area in which he was kind of sentimentally related. So we did a tracking, but we also decided to prioritize an area in which we had much more high probability to find him. And so it actually happened. And that was a massive success, not only for the full team, but also for this method of, especially with people suffering from this pathology, in prioritizing area in which they have memories, they have a connection, they have something still living inside of them. Yeah, when I've been called in along with colleagues for a search of a missing person, of course it's mandatory to gain as many details as possible from the family. The more accurate are these details, even for something that could appear like insignificant for us. Instead, it's a tremendous amount of information that we can put all together in order to have an idea about the stride of the person, the dynamic, let's say, or the full track line. So we can say that we profile not starting from a footprint, but starting from all the information provided by the family, and then we really want to see on the terrain, as long as living vegetation, all the details that allow us to be still able to be consistent on our search for the person and on his or her track line. It is definitely possible to track in a urban environment. Surely some environments, and I'm specifically referring to some rundown areas, a little bit abandoned, that can offer us the possibility to see tracks much easily, just because we are dealing with a terrain which is, terrain, substrate in this case, which is not so well maintained. Talking about concrete, asphalt and tar, if they are not properly maintained, they turn out to be dust. And dust is actually a very good track trap, so not, so bad. It's tough when we are dealing with areas in which the substrate, so the urban pavement, let's say, is properly maintained. In that case, we really want to cooperate with the people like forensic podiatrists who are able to analyze footage coming from CCTV cameras, for example. We really want to talk with witness, and then in some cases we can still pick up some parts of the track line. It's not going to be a complete one, but just some details in order to reconstruct the track line of the person. So I would say that for urban tracking is the teamwork which really marks a difference. There are some terrains, most related to public areas, some driveways which have maybe some very nice sandy soil, or some construction sites. If you think about them, they have really good sand, so we can still track the person. Or we can talk about small substrate, unusual substrate, which are surely providing very good evidence, like for example a leakage of oil from a car, like in the nearby of any mechanic, for example, area. Chewing gum are incredible, tiny, very good track traps, because if you think about someone tossing it on the ground and someone else stomping on it, then we have a very good tiny track trap which is able to capture the pattern, so the design of the sole. And then generally speaking, any material, especially glass, was able to retain very good the tracks, and glass is amazing in that. I'm a fan of technology when it comes to be, let's say, an additional artificial, in this case, a tool to our natural tools, our senses. So, for example, resorting to flashlight during night tracking, but also in the transition between twilight and darkness, which is a very critical moment for our eyes, is absolutely mandatory. It's necessary. We really don't want to end up on a track line during the night and be already fatigued and overwhelmed by the thing that we just try to still going on in tracking in a poor condition of light. So I definitely resort to flashlights. I'm not talking about what I have in my survival kit, because it's of course parallel, it's complementary to the tracking kit. But I'm also a big fan of consolidating a database. So I'm talking about application of database that you can develop on the computer, which is hosting the most common pattern. So potentially that would be like the goal for the future, like a common worldwide database, sort of internet database only related to different footwear and consequentially different design of the soles. That would be great, especially as an additional aid to some forensic investigations. Thank you.